Hi, I'm AP Stedham from LA, Lower Alabama. This is AP As We See It, a weekly syndicated 1 hour show discussing the Southeastern Conference, keeping an eye on the national college football scene and other sports. We'd like to welcome you to the show this week. We have a big show. Of course, we're in the midst of March Madness is upon us. They're having the conference tournaments this week and last week, and the women's was finished up last week. So we're going to be discussing some basketball on our show and also college football as we do every week, 52 weeks a year. But we wanted to welcome our audience from around the country, around the globe. And this is a show that delves into the college football scene primarily, but we also speak about the basketball. I'll be covering the Final Four in San Antonio. Never been to San Antonio. Looking forward to being there. But we want to start off the show by thanking our sponsors. We have Greer's Markets, 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi. We have Lucy's Famous Recipes, and she has an online book purchased about her recipes, so check that out as well. We have the Groceries to Go that delivers to your home, your office, any venue. And remember, it's football, family, and fun through the gridiron season, but this is basketball, so we know that the SEC is having an historical year on the men's side, and of course the women's has been very good for decades upon decades. So check out the Groceries to Go. You're going to be having those big parties to watch the March Madness, all the SEC teams, and we're going to get into that number, that projected number here in a little bit. They also have the weekly specials online that you can review and find all those items that you're seeking for your family and your businesses and other events. They have the coloring contest monthly for children, so that's a lot of fun for the kids. You can check that out as well. And for special occasions, the holidays, the birthdays, the anniversaries, and of course this March Madness business when you're having the parties to watch your favorite SEC basketball team, men's or women's. So consider Greer's Markets, the 29 locations, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi. You'll find the fresh produce and the dinner essentials and delicious food and snacks at unbeatable prices. And also, during the March Madness, they have a Greer's Bracket competition where you can win prizes. So remember to fill out your bracket, and you don't have to be an expert to win in this basketball tournament, as we've seen through the years. So remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. We also wanted to thank Wind Creek Casinos, the 3 Alabama locations. That's Alabama has the 3 locations, Atmore, Montgomery, and Wetumpka. Atmore, Montgomery, and Wetumpka. You could become a player, sign up at any location. And, of course, they have all the amenities at the various locations, the restaurants and dining, the cinema, the spa, the bowling, the live performances, the cooking school, different events at an amphitheater, A-list concerts, and the beautiful hotel. So there's fun for everyone. So check out one of the 3 locations, Wind Creek Casino, 3 Alabama locations, Atmore, Montgomery, and Wetumpka. So I guess we should get started with the show, March Madness. It's a lot of fun. I've always enjoyed it, and it's the Cinderella story for a few weeks anyway. We haven't really seen the Cinderella team, maybe. I don't think we've seen a Cinderella team really win the tournament. We've seen some people make good runs that have their seasons have not been the best in the win-loss column, but they've had a stretch where they won their tournament. They went on a 6-game winning streak, and I always try to tell people about the March Madness. It's really 3 weekends of winning 2 games. If you can approach the March Madness with that perspective of just winning 2 games every weekend, you're going to be the champion, 6 games. We know that the men's, they have the 4 regional locations, whereas the women, they've broken it down to just the 2. The women this year is going to be in Birmingham, Alabama, one of the regionals. They'll have the 8 teams in Spokane, Washington. So if you're like women's basketball, it's become very popular recently, but you can check it out in Birmingham, Alabama, here in the Southeast region. If you live out in the West Coast, head up to Spokane. But in the men's regions, we have the East is Newark, New Jersey. The South is in Atlanta. The West is in San Francisco, and the Midwest is in Indianapolis. So those are the 4 regions. If you're going to follow your teams, and I said the Final Four is in San Antonio. I'm looking forward to being there covering that event, as I usually do every year. But let's take a look on the men's side right now. We're going to be looking at the women's as well. We're also going to be discussing some college football, some relevant topics as well. But on the men's side, we always look at the poll to start the show off with the Associated Press poll. And this week there's 7 teams from the SEC men's side that are in the top 25. And we know that Auburn was at number 1, but Auburn now is at number 3. We have Florida at number 4. We have Alabama at number 5. We have Tennessee at number 8. Texas A&M number 14, Kentucky at 15, Mizzou at 21, and receiving votes, 17 votes is Ole Miss. So that's on the men's side. And we're going to also look at some of the awards, Associated Press awards with the Southeastern Conference on the men's side. The MVP was Janae Broome from Auburn. The head coach of the year, no surprise, Bruce Pearl. You're in what's considered the toughest conference this year. I think they won about 80% of the games non-conference. It's been an historic season, and I don't think we can say that enough, because that's a long time to be playing basketball for decades and decades and decades, and the SEC has not been the conference that people have mentioned when they're discussing March Madness in men's basketball. Women's basketball, yes, many years. But on the men's side, let's continue with the awards. The newcomer of the year, Trey Johnson from Texas. You have the all-SEC team on the men's side, Walter Clayton Jr., a point guard from Florida. Trey Johnson, as I mentioned, from Texas, shooting guard. Chaz Lanier, Tennessee, guard. Mark Sears, Alabama, guard. And Janae Broome, as well, from Auburn, to forward. But those are the awards on the men's side, the Associated Press awards with respect to the Southeastern Conference. Now, one thing about the men, we mentioned this time and time again, that for this league to be considered successful this year, the 25 men's basketball season, you've got to have a number of teams make the Sweet 16, I believe. I'm using a low number. I'm saying, let's say, 4 to 5 teams. And projected right now for the NCAA men's basketball team, and this is week to week, of course, but and I'll just go over their seedings. Auburn is projected as a number 1. Florida is projected as a number 1. Tennessee is projected as a number 2. Alabama is projected as a number 2. You have Texas A&M projected as a number 2. Kentucky projected number 4. Ole Miss number 5. Mizzou and Mississippi State number 6. You have Georgia at number 9, Vandy at number 10, Oklahoma at number 11. That's 11 teams projected right now out of 16 teams to be in the NCAA tournament. That would be a record for the SEC. And the trajectory of the league, it's taken a while, but I think with the advent of putting all the games on the TV, you had the SEC network, I think years ago, that was a great selling point for the coaches trying to recruit around the country. They can tell their prospective parents and the guardians and everybody who was interested in their recruits that you can watch every game on television in some form or fashion. I think that was a big selling point. And the SEC network, you can watch them in any part of the country, around the globe, different streaming services. So I think that was really important. It took some time to take hold, and they've got great coaches now in the league. And so I think that's been a couple of the reasons for the success in men's basketball. And then there's been a determined effort by the league, by the schools, by the administrations this is a revenue-generating sport, men's basketball. Let's see if we can take off, and let's see if we can match the women, because the women have been the top league in the country for a long time, year in and year out. I mean, maybe not the best every year, but they've been in contention for decades and decades. So the SEC men's basketball is looking good. One team on the bubble right now, Arkansas. I don't know when you speak to people on the committee and different people around the country, I'm not sure if winning a couple games changes your fortunes. Some people say you need to win a couple of games to solidify, move from the bubble to being in the tournament. I probably feel that way. You probably need to show the committee it's the end of the season. We're playing well. We're competitive in our conference and league championship series. So I think Arkansas would be served well by winning a couple games in the SEC tournament. They still might get in with their record, but it's unclear right now. They're clearly on the bubble. But to have 11 teams, possibly 12 in the NCAA tournament, men's basketball on the SEC side, that is history. That is history, and you're witnessing it in the year 2025 with men's basketball. And I know March Madness it's so much fun for everybody, but like I said, the SEC, I believe, needs to get, and this is a low number in my mind, 4 teams to the Sweet 16, and they might be competing against each other as they proceed through the tournament. You can't help it when you have 11 and 12 teams in the conference. You only have 4 regions, so you might meet up against each other. So that's even more guarantee. If you can win the first couple of games, you might have 2 SEC teams in that second game trying to get to the Sweet 16, or maybe in the Sweet 16 trying to get to the Regional 8 or the Regional 8 final, trying to get to the Final Four. So you can really secure a spot by keep winning the SEC, and it should be a record-setting season for the SEC in men's basketball. But anyway, we're going to take a few moments and come back after these messages with AP as we see it.